Picture this. It is still dark outside, the kind of blue-black winter dark that presses against the window pane. Your breath fogs faintly in the air because the fire has died down overnight. You pull the blanket tighter and feel the rough weave of it against your fingers. Somewhere downstairs, a floorboard creaks. There is the distant hiss of a kettle being filled, the soft clink of a spoon against china. The house smells of cold coal, faint pine, and yesterday's polish. Frost feathers the inside corners of the glass. You lie there listening to the silence of Christmas morning in 1970s Britain, a silence broken only by pipes ticking awake and the muted sound of a radio being turned on low, as if not to wake the whole street. For a moment, before the day begins, everything feels held. Contained. As though the country itself is pausing to breathe. This was Britain in the 1970s. A decade shaped by shortages, power cuts, and uncertainty, but also by a quiet, stubborn togetherness. Christmas did not arrive wrapped in abundance or spectacle. It arrived modestly, carefully, carried by habit and shared expectation. There was less, but what there was mattered. The day belonged not to individuals, but to households, streets, and an entire nation moving in step. The memory endures not because it was perfect, but because it was shared. In a colder, tighter Britain, warmth came from people drawing closer. You eventually climb out of bed, feet meeting linoleum that steals the heat from your soles. Dressing happens quickly, jumpers pulled on without fuss, because the warmth is downstairs. The living room is dim, curtains still half drawn, the electric bar heater glowing faintly red in the corner if you were lucky enough to have one. More often, it is the fireplace that matters, ash raked aside and a new coal placed carefully, as though it might last longer if treated with respect. Tinsel droops from the mantelpiece, reused from last year, its silver dulled but familiar. The tree stands slightly uneven, needles already collecting at the base, decorated with paper chains, glass baubles kept in their boxes for 11 months, and fairy lights that take a moment to warm up, blinking uncertainly before settling. Breakfast is simple. Tea poured strong, steam curling upward. Toast scraped with margarine because butter is for later. Someone reminds you not to eat too much. Outside, the street is unusually quiet. No buses yet. No deliveries. Just the occasional crunch of footsteps on frost as someone else begins their Christmas. Time feels slower, unhurried, guided not by clocks but by ritual. Coats are draped over chairs, scarves waiting by the door, and the day opens gently, like a familiar book being read again. By late morning, the television becomes the hearth. There are only a handful of channels, and everyone knows what will be on without checking. The Radio Times has been studied for weeks, pages folded, corners turned down, arguments settled long ago. The set itself is solid and wooden, taking a moment to warm into focus. A family gathers without discussion, chairs angled toward the screen, teacups balanced on knees. Somewhere across the country, millions are doing exactly the same thing. When the program begins, it feels like an event. Not background noise, but something to be watched. The Queen's speech arrives with ceremony, the room falling quiet out of respect rather than instruction. There is something grounding in knowing the same words are being heard in council houses, terraces, and semis from Cornwall to Cumbria. Later, a comedy special or a familiar drama draws laughter that feels shared even though you are alone in the room. There is no pausing, no rewinding, no second chance. If you miss it, it is gone. And that makes it matter more. Television in 1970s Britain did not fragment us. It gathered us. For a few hours, the nation breathe together, warmed by the same glow. Food arrives not all at once, but in stages, like a story unfolding. The kitchen is steamy, windows misted over, smells layered and heavy. Roast meat crackles softly, potatoes hiss in fat, sprouts boil until their scent fills the house whether you like them or not. This is not restaurant food. It is home food, shaped by what could be afforded, what could be sourced, and what had always been done. Plates are warmed. Portions are measured with care, but generosity finds a way. Someone insists you take more gravy. Someone else reminds you of those who have less. Pudding is dense and dark, set alight briefly, blue flames dancing before being extinguished with a practiced hand. Custard is poured thick, the color of winter sunlight. Food here is more than nourishment. It is reassurance. Proof that, despite the year's hardships, something has been set aside. Something has been saved. Every bite carries memory, obligation, and love, even when it is overcooked or slightly wrong. You eat not quickly, but gratefully, knowing this meal anchors the day. Presents come later, never in a rush. They are arranged neatly, paper simple, corners carefully folded. There are not many, but each one carries weight. You recognize handwriting before you read names. When your turn comes, there is a pause. The room watches, not out of pressure, but anticipation. You unwrap slowly, conscious of tearing paper that might be saved. One gift stands out. Not because it is expensive, but because it was chosen. A book. A jumper. A toy you have mentioned only once. Holding it feels like responsibility as much as joy. You understand, even then, that effort has been made. That something else was not bought so this could be. Gratitude is instinctive, not rehearsed. You say thank you and mean it. The object will be used, worn, read, played with until it becomes part of everyday life. It will not be forgotten in a week. Scarcity gives it a longer shadow. It becomes attached to the day itself, inseparable from the memory of the room, the faces, the light. Later, coats are pulled on and the outside world reappears. The street is still, almost reverent. Curtains twitch as neighbors notice one another. A greeting is exchanged. A quick word about weather, about food, about someone who could not make it this year. The corner shop is shut, but the knowledge it exists is comfort enough. The milk bottles stand frozen at the doorstep, a small miracle waiting for morning. There is care here that does not announce itself. A plate dropped round quietly. A check-in on an elderly neighbor. No fuss. Just presence. Children's voices carry further in the cold air, laughter sharper, cleaner. Adults stand talking a little longer than usual before returning indoors. Christmas in 1970s Britain belongs not just to houses, but to the spaces between them. As evening settles, the energy fades. The fire burns lower, embers glowing red before slipping into ash. Plates are stacked, hands washed, the television murmurs on as conversation drifts in and out. Someone dozes in a chair, newspaper folded across their chest. Outside, the cold returns quietly, reclaiming the windows, creeping back into corners. Eventually, it is time to go upstairs. Hot water bottles are filled. Pajamas pulled on quickly. The bedroom is cold again, just as it was that morning. You climb into bed, muscles heavy, mind full. The day feels complete, contained. The same blankets are pulled up. The same sounds settle the house. Tomorrow will be ordinary again. that knowledge is oddly comforting. Christmas has passed through, leaving warmth behind, even as the cold presses in once more. These memories linger not because the past was better, but because it was held differently. Life in 1970s Britain was harder in many ways. Homes were colder. Money was tighter. Futures felt uncertain. But time was slower, and attention was shared. Christmas acted as a pause, a collective breath taken by a nation accustomed to enduring. The rituals mattered because they were repeated, not reinvented. The joy came not from surprise, but from recognition. From knowing what would happen next, and who would be there when it did. We remember not perfection, but connection. The feeling of belonging to something larger than ourselves, even for a single day. In remembering, we are not asking to go back. We are acknowledging what shaped us. These moments remind us that meaning does not require excess, only presence. That warmth can come from shared silence as much as celebration. And that memory itself is a kind of inheritance, passed quietly from one generation to the next. If these moments stirred something in you, you are not alone. Share your memories in the comments below. Tell us what Christmas meant in your home, on your street, in your Britain. Subscribe to Britain Rewind if you believe these stories matter, not as nostalgia alone, but as shared history worth keeping. Together, we remember so these moments are never truly lost.